So I got a request from a local friend to bring up the difference of the cultures of Ecuador and North America, particularly the United States. The difference between Ecuador, and again this is generalization, but it's a pretty accurate generalization. Ecuador tends to be a passive country. They accept what comes. In the United States, we're an aggressive country. We kind of create what comes. Our history has been tame the West, rugged individualism, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, that sort of thing. In Ecuador, I don't know exactly why. My theory is because it's been 1,000 to 2,000 years of subjugation under the Cunari, the Inca, the Spanish, and you know, if you were, let's say you were in the time of the Inca and you lived in a little village of a few hundred people, men, women, and children, and here comes 25,000 trained, experienced military people. There's nothing you can do about it. So what do? You contend with it. And so I think that's my theory. And I think the culture here of just deal with what may come is very different than North America, you know, for those reasons. That being aggressive is actually construed as being rude. I'm going to give you an example. When people meet in Ecuador, Ecuadorians, local people, they say, hello, how you doing? How's your family? What's going on? Da 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 da. And it might be 5 minutes before they circle around to the point. And they never go directly at a point. I'll do a little role play. Okay, I'm an Ecuadorian, I'm going into a store, and let's say it's a $400 object, whatever, from Acme. And they come in and meet the clerk, and they, good afternoon, how are you doing? You know, has it been busy? What's going on? What do you think of this Christmas? Are you all ready? How's your family? Da 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 da. We can cut and paste for the next few minutes of that sort of chit chat. Now let's get to the object. So this object, what kind of features does it have? Is there any kind of warranty? Talk, explanation, look at the color, all that's interesting, da 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 da. And maybe after a while, we finally get to the point where we're going to talk about the price, or maybe they never even get there. Because talking about money is actually considered to be rude. And in the restaurants here, they don't bring you the check, they don't bring you go in, you sit down, you eat, and you can sit there for 4 hours and they're not going to ask you for payment. You pretty much have to tell them that you're ready to get paid, how much is it, and take care of it. So here's an American that goes into that store for this $400 object. How much? From the Ecuador point of view, it's extremely rude. From an American or North American point of view, what they do can drive us crazy because we talk in circles, we don't get to the point. Ecuador, they don't get to the point. And so after 10, 15 minutes, you just want to take care of this transaction. It doesn't happen. You go into a government office, you get that in spades. I mean, it can drive you crazy. And come back tomorrow, come back tomorrow. Today you need 3 pieces of paper. When you come back tomorrow, there's 2 more they didn't tell you about. Can drive you nuts. So I'm going to give you a little helpful tip. When you're in a government office, let's say you're trying to work through the visa process, and you get to the point where you're starting to go crazy. It's on the 3rd month and you don't know why you had to go to a Zogies 8 times. Keep your cool. Keep your patience. Stay calm. Just work through it. Take a cue from the people that you see around you from Ecuador. Here's why. If you look, you're going to find a sign on the wall, and everyone I saw was bilingual. most signs aren't bilingual. There's a reason for it, because the sign is really there for us. The sign it states the provision of a law with the citation right there on the sign, that if you get angry, upset, loud with the clerk, you violated federal law. They don't want to tolerate people chewing them out. And you'll see that in Spanish and in English. To them, it's just rude beyond belief. You don't have to be completely like Ecuador when you're living here, but you need to understand that when you're dealing with things. You need to have more patience, more understanding. It's completely foreign to them to just walk in and say, hey, what's the price? And for us, it's kind of the point. You know, it's like, I already did my homework. I know I want this one. I just want to make sure I can afford it here. It's a good price. Maybe I'll even haggle a little. They'll haggle too, but things are in a different way. And it's that way of thinking that has a lot to do with things such as being on time. North Americans were notorious for, and it's generally true, that if we're supposed to be somewhere at 9 o'clock, we're going to get there at 10 minutes to 9. An Ecuadorian, if they're supposed to be somewhere at 9 o'clock, they might get there at 10, 10:30, maybe. If it's a party, it might be 2 hours later, for a few reasons. One, they just live that kind of life. But there's also a practical sense. In the States, or Canada, North America, basically we all have cars, we drive to where we need to go, we're in control, for the most part, of our time and how we get there, barring, an occasional accident or something. Here it's not really like that. Most people are going to take the bus, maybe a taxi, usually the bus. That bus, let's say it's a 20-minute ride, on average. Sometimes it'll get you there in 20 minutes, but if there's a lot of stops, it might be 35, 40 minutes. It's really hard to judge arriving somewhere. Sometimes the bus doesn't stop, it just rolls right on by you, and you have to wait for the next one to come along. Here, everybody kind of knows that, and so they're more accepting of it. Although it is changing in Cuenca, where they're getting a little more used to the way we operate. Particularly businesses that want to do business with the gringos, they know that being on time is important, so they try to make a point of doing that. So they go out of their way, but it is out of their way. So these are some important points. The theme of the story is being patient. If you come here, be prepared for that. You also need to be prepared for these dogs. I'm in Hidong. It's much worse in Cuenca. And at night, packs of 40, 45 street dogs will roll by where you live, and they're going to bark and keep you up all night. At least here, I only get it in small doses. And they're packs of about 7 or 8 dogs that weren't here when I actually moved here. So, patience. We all thank you.